I do not seek authority for myself, I seek honor for my people. A nation is truly sovereign only when it can rise on its own without pleading from others. Ibrahim Traoré's path to leadership has often been called both sudden and unavoidable. At a time when his nation was searching for guidance, he stepped forward with a vision that blended persistence, realism, and bravery. Unlike many who speak of reform without laying foundations, Traoré began with swift and visible action. His first projects centered on infrastructure: roads linking isolated villages, solar networks bringing light to rural homes, and clean water systems for long-neglected communities. These projects weren't only about growth, they were about respect. People began to view him not just as a leader, but as someone capable of turning promises into reality. The momentum grew quickly. What started as national reforms soon attracted regional attention. Neighboring countries, long used to hollow speeches from officials, were astonished to see change appear so rapidly. International experts in development noted that Traoré wasn't experimenting. He was delivering at a speed seldom witnessed in rising economies. Within months, reports circulated about his effectiveness, and murmurs of recognition spread through diplomatic circles. The story shifted from who is this young figure to could he represent a new model for African governance. The decisive moment came when global institutions and world leaders acknowledged the breadth of his achievements. It wasn't just about infrastructure. It was about the system he was shaping for lasting strength. Roads were breaking isolation. Solar grids were cutting dependence on foreign power. Water systems were saving lives. Even more crucial, these projects gave communities the means to stand independently, reinforcing the idea of sovereignty that Traoré had embraced from the start. By proving that growth could be both fast and enduring, he placed himself beyond being a national figure. He was emerging as a worldwide example of how leadership grounded in action could redefine a people's destiny. Traoré's style of leadership is groundbreaking not because it rests on abstract theories, but because it converts vision into clear results. His infrastructure efforts stretch beyond bricks and stone. They are crafted to rewire the social and economic structure of his country. Roads, for example, are not just routes. They are lifelines linking farmers with markets, children with schools, and families with health services. Likewise, the rollout of solar energy has not only cut reliance on costly imports, but has illuminated entire villages that once remained in darkness. Each project is created with sustainability in mind, ensuring that today's progress does not endanger tomorrow. This broad approach has placed him at the center of a development debate that crosses borders, raising expectations for what leadership in fragile regions can accomplish. What sets Traoré apart is his commitment to empowering communities. Rather than hoarding control, he promotes local participation in design and execution. Villages are trained to manage water systems. Young engineers are involved in planning power grids, while small businesses are awarded contracts to supply resources. This inclusive model of growth builds a sense of ownership among citizens, making initiatives less prone to corruption or collapse. In fragile regions where unrest often feeds on exclusion, his practice of bringing people into the nation-building process has fostered areas of calm and cooperation. By tying infrastructure to empowerment, Traoré has proven that real stability is born not from force, but from opportunity. The effects are already clear in measurable progress markers. Access to safe water has risen sharply. Rural electrification has expanded rapidly, and trade routes once blocked by failing roads now run more smoothly. International agencies note that literacy levels and healthcare access are improving as well, thanks to stronger infrastructure. These advances go beyond national borders. They demonstrate that a fresh model of leadership is possible, one where results replace rhetoric. For the global audience, this has changed the standard for judging new leaders. Traoré is no longer just a rising figure. He is a proven driver of transformation, whose actions fit squarely with the aims of sustainable growth and world peace building. The rising discussion about his Nobel chances didn't grow in isolation. It was amplified by global leaders who recognized the weight of his work. African presidents were among the first to applaud him publicly, stressing that his progress symbolized hope for the continent. European envoys praised the eco-friendly nature of his programs, noting how his work aligned with climate goals worldwide. Even leaders in Asia and Latin America began drawing links between his model and the reforms their own nations require. This broad support lifted him from a regional achiever to a global subject of praise and debate. Direct endorsements have only fueled the momentum. Messages from high-level figures such as UN leaders, world economists, and even Nobel laureates themselves spotlight his success in stabilizing communities through growth rather than violence. They argue that Traoré's record has shown peace is not merely the absence of fighting. It is the presence of opportunity, fairness, and empowerment. This framing fits closely with the Nobel Committee's mission, which often seeks leaders who merge innovation with humanity in their work. The fact that so many influential voices agree on this point signals the weight of his candidacy. What makes his case especially strong is how directly his achievements align with Nobel standards. The Peace Prize has often gone to individuals who advance dialogue, healing, and progress in unstable regions. By centering on infrastructure and empowerment, Traoré has tackled the roots of unrest such as poverty and exclusion. This method has built conditions where peace can grow naturally. Observers now contend that his work doesn't simply meet Nobel benchmarks, it stretches them, offering a model for how development itself can serve as a powerful peace-building tool. The excitement is no longer speculation. It is becoming a true movement with a solid and convincing foundation. The Nobel nomination process is both demanding and selective, requiring formal entries from accredited institutions, past laureates, and academic leaders. Already, signs suggest that several groups are preparing to submit Traoré's name. If accepted, his candidacy could appear on the Nobel shortlist within the next year. The timing is notable, as it aligns with a broader global push for sustainable progress and climate resilience, fields where his leadership is most visible. Analysts argue that his bid represents not only acknowledgement of past results, but also support for the path he is charting forward. If Traoré were to earn the Nobel Prize, the consequences would be far-reaching. It would signal to the world that development is as central to peace as diplomacy or disarmament. For fragile nations, it would show that building infrastructure and empowering citizens can be as effective as foreign mediation. For international bodies, it would mark a pivot toward rewarding concrete, measurable change instead of abstract pledges. Such recognition would place Africa at the core of global progress debates, breaking long-standing stereotypes of reliance and weakness. The ripple effect could reach even farther. Global cooperation may be strengthened as more countries adopt his model of action-led growth. Aid groups could shift their focus toward lasting infrastructure instead of temporary relief, creating real progress rather than short-term solutions. Young leaders across the world would be motivated to embrace a path of courage, realism, and inclusivity. In this sense, a Nobel Prize for Traoré would not only honor him personally, but also reshape leadership standards for this century. While the Nobel would be historic, Traoré's deeper legacy reaches far beyond awards. His style of leadership has already inspired countless people and communities, proving that real change begins with doing. The roads, schools, and solar grids he launched will serve millions for decades, regardless of whether he accepts a medal in Oslo. These lasting outcomes form a living legacy, one that speaks louder than any prize ever could. For the citizens whose lives are renewed, he is already a beacon of hope and strength. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of his legacy is the spark it ignites in the next generation. By proving that sovereignty can be built on self-reliance and creativity, Traoré has challenged global assumptions about what is achievable in developing nations. Young Africans especially see in him a mirror of their own promise. His life shows that leadership doesn't require wealth, age, or foreign approval. It requires vision and the courage to carry it out. This generational influence may ultimately outweigh even Nobel prestige. At the center of his journey is a call for global action. Traoré's work pushes us to move past charity and embrace sustainable growth as the road to peace. It urges citizens everywhere to expect accountability, inclusion, and foresight from those in power. Whether or not the Nobel Prize is awarded, the true victory is already unfolding in the lives transformed by his leadership. And as the world observes, one truth is undeniable. Ibrahim Traoré has launched a movement that will shape the future far beyond himself.